Yeah, Friday! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening. Thanks for making me part of your day. This is episode 232 of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. And before we get started today, I just have an announcement to make. That 60% discount for WW is still going on right now. If you have been considering joining a program where you can try to become part of a community that is trying to get healthy, look, a 60% discount is definitely good motivation to do so, right? And there's one catch, and that one catch is you're committing for 10 months, right? So what a great time period that is to give yourself 10 months to really dedicate everything, all of your 100% of your effort and energy and focus into creating a result in 10 months. Not into creating a result in 5 days or 7 days or whatever days. To create a result in 10 months. If you see the entire thing as one big experiment, right? The entire 10 months. And if you don't pay so much attention to the current weight trend when you weigh in each week, or as some of you do, each day. If you ignore all of that and just give yourself 10 months to make some real behavioral change, because behavioral change is the key to it all. It is not, if I follow, these points or whatever the case may be, I'll lose weight. That's not it. Behavioral change is what is necessary, because behavior is what got you here in the first place. Behavior is not normal to put us in situations like this, so it needs to be changed to take us out of situations like this. It is that simple. 10 months with 60% discount is a great start to the beginning of the rest of your life. Now, if you do sign up and you're looking for that workshop home, that place to go every Saturday morning or whatever, look, you'll find me with Coach Sophie F. every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come in, come say hello. The people in that room are definitely a great group of people. I have been hanging around with them for quite some time now at this point. And they are a group of people I look forward to interacting with every week. So if that's something you're looking for, if you're looking for a nice community to start out in once you become a new member to WW, Coach Sophie F. It's a virtual meeting. Look, you don't even have to get dressed. You could sit there in your robe. You could be on camera. You could be off camera. Whatever it is, right? But just know, you join these things, the effort you put in is what you get out of it, right? If you're doing a bunch of other things and you're not really paying attention, that's the kind of result you're going to get. That's what you're going to get from it. The kind of result a person gets from not paying attention. But if you give yourself to it and you interact with it and you become a part of the group, you might just get the one thing you've been trying to get your entire life. So look, the one thing I'll say to you is nothing changes unless you change. And if you find that you're restarting for the God knows how many times that you've done this and you failed God knows how many times, isn't the idea that this time maybe, just maybe, you do something a completely different way? A completely different way. It could start with Coach Sophie F., 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday morning. Well, enough of that talking. Let's get into this! Journey updates. So weigh-in this week was May 10th, 2025. Current weight is 224 pounds. That equals a loss of 0.4 pounds. Total pounds to get to my goal weight is 28.4 pounds. My work stats are going from May 4th to May 10th. Total steps taken in that time period is 81,209 steps. That's an average steps a day of 11,601. Total miles walked in that time period is 34.6 miles. That's an average mileage per day of about 5 miles per day. My fasting day last week went well. I mean, I did have some real severe headaches, just like I told you guys about the previous week. So a lot of the same. My fasting day this week is tomorrow, so I'm not in it yet. I'm recording today is Wednesday the 14th. I will be fasting tomorrow, so that will continue on my 1 day a week for the next 8 weeks. I do feel like I'm doing well with it, and trying to give myself all the tools necessary for success, knowing that failure is always a possibility at any given moment. But what you do with the lessons that you should learn from failure is basically where the world goes the right way or the wrong way, right? I never saw failure as the end. I just saw failure as the beginning of the next try. And that's it. That was a big mental shift to get to that point. But it is necessary. It is a necessary mental shift to start to stop seeing failure as the ending of something and started seeing it as the beginning of the next try, and to see that it doesn't define you as a person. It is just teaching you where you mess up, right? So if you were running the hurdles, right, in an Olympic event, and you tripped on the first hurdle every single time you tried, well, what is it about the first hurdle? Is it a certain height? What is it? What would be the best speed to approach the first hurdle? These are the lessons that you need to learn to clear the first hurdle. Once you clear the first hurdle, the second hurdle is coming. Now, whether or not that's going to be an obstacle, that's up to you entirely. But if it is, the same process comes on. The same thing happens with weight loss, right? With weight loss, you're just going to have one hurdle after the other. And understanding that the hurdle is going to make you fall on your face a few times, it's empowering. People don't understand this until they really experience the mental shift, because it takes a lot to go through this, to desensitize yourself of what failure means mentally up here to you right now and what it needs to mean to you in order to get past it, right? And that takes a while for some people. Some people never actually make it. There are people that would claim that they're at their goal weight right now, and they still see failure this way. There's no growth. There's no evolution. They still see failure this way. Look, it's really about you in the end, right? The failure, or the mentality that comes with failure, is only going to affect you. It's not going to affect the people around you. And in the end, if it does and they have opinion of what you're doing, their opinion doesn't matter anyway. And that's another empowering thing. When you realize that everybody's opinion is their own business, that's an empowering thing. Excuse me. But in the end, the transition is up to you. The behavior change is up to you. Facing the crap you need to face to create real behavior change is all up to you. There are plenty of people that made it to goal weights and still struggle their entire lives because they haven't gone beyond that. They haven't realized that there's more to grow from. Now, that's where my podcast comes in. Because my podcast isn't here to motivate you to lose weight. It isn't. As many people see that this is about my weight loss journey, this podcast does not exist to make sure you lose weight. This podcast is to make you realize that behavior change isn't just going to cause weight loss. Weight loss is going to be the minimum that's caused by behavior change. What's going to happen in the process is life transformation. That's what this podcast is creating. People transforming their lives, becoming the greatest version of themselves. And what does that really entail? It entails that you have to actually face the idea that what sounds cute and like, okay, well, everything's on the table and you don't have to say goodbye to anything you love eating and all of this, as much as that is being pushed in your face on a daily basis. This podcast is to make you realize that living with it is not what we're really after. growing from it is what we're really after. And that brings me to what I want to talk about today. Let me just present a scenario here. If a close friend of yours started talking about the cigarettes talking to them, they're trying to quit smoking, and the cigarettes are talking to them. And they're calling it cigarette noise, nicotine noise. That sounds more catchy. Nicotine noise. They're calling it that. If you're thinking about that, what would you say? What would you say it really is? If you had to define nicotine noise, what would you define it as? I could tell you what I would define it as. I would define it as their addiction talking to them. And I'm sure a lot of you would say the same thing. That somebody who's trying to quit nicotine or tobacco is essentially having that item talk to them as they go through the withdrawals of trying to change their behavior. If someone said the same thing about alcohol noise, what would you say then? You'd probably say the same thing. That's just your addiction talking to you. And so what I really need to know is, why is it that we live in a world that will literally go out of its way to normalize food addiction? They bring up a topic and they call it food noise. And it's so normalized. The only thing normal about it is that everybody in the room is dealing with it. That's it. Beyond that, it's not something you're expected to just deal with. Yet, as eloquently as the corporation presents, they make it sound like it's going to stick around forever. And you know what? If you believe that, guess what? It's going to stick around forever. Because what you believe up here is what's going to happen. The mind is a powerful thing. If you believe it's normal and believe it's here to stay, it will always be here. That's not what this podcast is for. This podcast is to point out the truth about every scenario. And if I was talking about nicotine noise and alcohol noise, if we want to get like really catchy with it, nicotine noise and alcohol audio, just to keep it simple, we're talking about addiction. So food noise is talking about addiction. The urges your body has to crave the foods you're craving stem from an addiction. People don't like admitting stuff like that. I'm not here to skate around that topic. I did not get 6 years in on all this and lose all this weight to skate around topics like this. Because if my goal is to get you to transform your life, part of that is to get you to realize what your obstacles really are and to get you to master all of those obstacles. And sugarcoating and pretending that these are normal parts of life, not my job. This is why companies are making the big bucks and I don't. I'm helping a very specific group of people. And if I'm doing my job right, you're going to grow and you're eventually going to outgrow my message. That is my goal for everyone who listens to this podcast or watches at this point. My goal is that eventually you outgrow the things I say and you're seeking further knowledge. If you end up doing that, then I did everything right. I will consider that a win if you move on because you've outgrown my message. So there's a few different kind of people in this world. There's the people that like to live under the delusion that they can eat what they want and lose weight, and they can accept life just the way it is and live with it. And I'm not saying it's bad to be one of those people. I'm just saying that's one of the kinds of people. The next kind of person is going to be someone who hears what I have to say and attempts to change what they're doing. And then there's going to be the kind of person that is beyond what I have to say, and they're seeking other knowledge. Part of the battle is getting you to realize in this overly normalized world of overindulgence, to get you to realize that sacrifice is the key to becoming the greatest version of you is nearly impossible. Nearly impossible. It is the impossible mission for real. Because for every one person that sounds like me, there's probably 100,000 people tickling your ears with delusions and lies. And maybe some of those people make a lot of money for you to stay right where you are. And if you're happy, who am I to convince you otherwise? It's not my job to convince you. You could take what I say or leave it. But real behavior change, becoming the greatest version of you, entails seeing the truth of your real situation. So what really is food noise? We have foods that are essentially a laboratory experiment. You've been told these are foods. They are clearly designed to have zero nutritional value, and they are designed to be extremely tasty, and they are designed to create pathways, pleasure pathways in your brain so that every time you take a bite, you're creating this hit of pleasure. And this is why you're never satisfied. This is why you're never actually full. Because the food you're eating is devoid of nutrients. It supplies nothing your body actually needs. Even the health versions of these things. When you're talking about protein pancakes and all these other things, they can legally call them protein. But if you start doing real research as the kind of protein that can turn to muscle, you'll find that the overwhelming majority of these foods that claim to have protein in them, they are types of protein that a very small, tiny amount has a percentage chance of becoming muscle tissue. That's what you'll realize. And this is why you'll always hear this podcast talk about whole foods regardless. I don't care who promotes the thing. I don't care what company made it. I don't care how natural they're promising it the item is. The rule everybody should believe right now is if you can go out in nature and pick it off of a bush, a tree, whatever it is, and eat it, if you can kill it and eat it, or if it comes from something that you domesticated and eat it, those are the things you should eat. And outside of that, it's not real food. So if it grows out of the ground, if it's part of an animal or it comes from an animal, that's food. Anything else isn't real food, especially not today. Nobody is helping you here. Nobody has your best interests at heart. Nobody. They are skating around everything. If you really started to get into the laws and details of how things work, even tags like organic. Companies that are legally allowed to put that sticker on a product that says organic are still allowed to use a certain percentage of pesticide to grow their crops. It's just that simple. There's going to be legalese for everything. For everything. It's getting to the point where the only way you can truly trust what you're putting in your mouth or in your body in general is if you grew it yourself, you slaughtered it yourself, or you're raising it yourself. That's it. If tomorrow every single one of us who's listening to me right now could buy a farm and do those things, you would probably end up living the healthiest version of your lives. But the world doesn't want you realizing that. Because the world wants you sick, the world wants you dependent, and the world wants you addicted. Because if you're all of those three things, they can dictate what happens to you. That's just the honest truth. So we really need to start seeing the terminology and just watch how many things are being normalized right now. Do you really believe that food noise is just going to always be a part of your life? Or is the reality of it, food noise will be always a part of your life if you're eating foods that cause cravings? I'm the one guy on the planet that will find every way to point your own problems at you. Every way I could find. I do it to myself. I'm going to do it to you. That's what I do. If we try to live in a world with addiction, we are only going to benefit by keeping it. You don't need to eat food that's addictive. That's bottom line. You don't need to eat food that's addictive. Everything your body needs grows out of the ground, comes from an animal, or is part of an animal. Everything your body needs is one of those three things. But this wonderful thing called sugar, became an invisible part of so many things. And we wonder why we all have the problems we have. They're pointing the finger at everything else in the world except sugar. They have your eyes on every single other thing it could possibly be. They're blaming natural food sources. They're talking about growing lab-grown meat and making you eat lab-grown meat. That's what they're talking about. They want to force and dictate all kinds of things on you. And yet, they'll allow things to sit on the shelf in a grocery store that was essentially, if you had those chemicals in your house, you'd be arrested today. People, employees of these companies have to wear freaking hazmat suits to handle the ingredients you're putting down your throat. And you wonder why you can't live without them. They've been designed to be this way. And until you see the world for the sinister place it is, I can't help you. If you actually want to pretend you can live your life with your addiction, then have at it. I'm not the person you should be listening to. I'm here to find the few people, the very few, the small few, that are looking to create some real change in their life, that are looking to become the greatest version of themselves, that are willing to face the fact that sacrifice is necessary in order to become the greatest version of yourself. Sacrifices necessary to create the evolution necessary to become the greatest version of yourself. There's no living with the addictive food. There is only moving on from it. Nothing more, nothing less, no matter how hard it is. My job is to make you uncomfortable, not to make you comfortable. If you want to be comfortable, you can literally go to anybody else. I'm here to force you into uncomfortable places so that you grow. And eventually, you'll be looking for someone else to be making you feel uncomfortable because I just don't do it for you anymore. You are beyond. And that's the day that I would become very happy. Because I did what I needed to do. It's like the parent birds, when they're kicking their kids out of the nest and they're falling to the ground and they're flapping their wings and then they just take off flying. The parent birds understand they've done everything they needed to do. Right? That's what this podcast is here for. To get you to evolve so you can spread your wings and fly. But we have to see things for what they are. No growth can happen from sugarcoating and ignoring and living in delusion. And the company that takes your money every month is going to be very good at making sure you stay a customer a very long time. That's their business model. It's what they do. I'm not blaming them for it. If suddenly everybody was at their goal weight, they would go broke. Planet Fitness makes more money off of people that never actually show up than they do from the people that show up week after week. In reality, right now, Planet Fitness has so much clientele that if in every single city of every single state, if every single member showed up at the exact same time, they would literally be shut down by the fire department because they wouldn't be able to allow you all in there. The building is not big enough. That's how much clientele they have, and that's the difference between how much they have and how much show up. They're banking on you continually paying and never actually getting to where you want to be. As do many other companies. But they're in business to make money. I can't blame them for that. It is up to you in the end to grow beyond what is being volunteered to you. There's always going to be information that's volunteered to you. In anything you do. You go to a car dealership, they're going to volunteer information. You go to a stock broker, they're going to volunteer information to you. All of these places. But in the end, it's up to you that if you really, really want to understand this, you have to grow beyond. To gain additional knowledge as to whatever's been volunteered to you. You have to go above and beyond that. If you're just here to stick to the simplistic rules, then you should be happy with the simplistic results. It's just that simple. There are a lot of things set up to be the stepping stone to you becoming your greatest you. And they're great stepping stones. But it's up to you, when you get to that certain point, to recognize I need more. I must grow further. To recognize that outgrowing your current situation is not a bad thing. We all wear this badge of honor like, oh, I'm a loyal customer. Oh, congratulations. I mean, it's ridiculous. You should be happy to say, I've gone on to other things. I got to the point where it wasn't enough. I read a few books. I attained some knowledge. And now I just need to move forward with what I know, the new knowledge I've obtained, until that one is obsolete. And then you go further. People say that there's no end, but there's two different versions of having no end. There's having no end, being struggling all the time. And then there's having no end and being growing all the time, evolving all the time, becoming better, bigger, stronger, faster every single minute of every single day for the rest of your life. It's really your choice in the end. Do you choose to struggle your whole life, or do you choose to grow your whole life? I talk to you from a position of not someone who's claiming to know it all. I'm talking to you from a position of personal life experience. That's what I'm talking to you from. Life experience. To realize that there was more to it than what was volunteered to me started happening a very, very long time ago. And I only built on top of it more and more and more. But each time I built on top of it, it was my choice to do. I could easily said, well, I'm staying within my points. I don't understand why the scale didn't go anywhere. I was 150 pounds down. Well, and I could start thinking those things like, well, maybe this is it for me. Maybe this is my goal. This is my body telling me where I'm going to be. No, in reality, because the minute I picked up a book and read something that taught me something additional about nutrition, about real nutrition, something beyond points. I read a book that gave me nutritional knowledge. Suddenly, I drop another 25 pounds. Because I chose to grow. I chose to evolve. I chose to believe that there was more to learn than what was volunteered to me. It's amazing what people will tell themselves. I've actually heard people say, maybe this is it. People have said that to me. Maybe this is your body telling you this is your goal weight. People have actually said that to me. My body telling me my goal weight? No, I tell my body. My body doesn't tell me anything. That's the reality. You're separated from what you really want in this life by the knowledge you don't already have, that you have to voluntarily go after. No one's going to hand you what you need to be the ultimate success. Otherwise, everybody going into the mailroom of a corporation would be the owner of a Fortune 500 company in no time. But they don't. Because they choose what they choose. And so, I'm here to make sure you realize there's more to life than what information has been volunteered to you. And a lot of the issues we deal with are self-inflicted because we do not have the knowledge we need to grow. I don't know how else I can put this to you, but it is that important to voluntarily choose your life and to choose, I am willing today to become the greatest version of myself, and I'm willing to go above and beyond to obtain all of the knowledge I can possibly obtain in the effort of becoming the greatest version of myself. And I will do this whether I feel like it or not, every single minute of every single day. And I realize becoming the greatest version of me comes with a sacrifice. And those sacrifices aren't the end of the world, because in reality, I can't see the real world that's available to me. The greatest version of me has a different life than I have right now. And I have to try to see beyond what gives me pleasure right now in this minute to get to the point where the greatest version of me sees a life I never thought is possible in this moment. That's what all of you need to realize, that there is a life beyond what you're allowing yourself to live right now. And you have to be able to understand that just because you can't see it, just because you can't imagine it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The one thing really that is standing in your way of you being able to see any of that is the sacrifice you're not willing to make right now. That sacrifice you know needs to be made, but you've been avoiding it because it's just too uncomfortable. It's not convenient. I just can't see my life without it. You can't see your life without it because you're unwilling to. It's that simple. And the life you should have, the person you should grow to be will never exist because you can't get past the idea of the sacrifice of the one thing holding you back all of this time. What if when you die, they always talk about your life flashes before your eyes. What if it isn't actually your life, the way you lived it? What if it's the life you were supposed to live? What if it's the life of the greatest version of you? The God-created version of you? That person's life. What if that's the life you see, and then you know the life you lived, and you know what you didn't live up to? What if that's what you experienced? Would you want to know that you died becoming the greatest version of you? Or would you rather regret because of what you did become instead, because of the lack of sacrifice that you made? I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.